Hello and welcome to the Befriend Endo podcast. I'm your host, Eva Race Chaddock, a former architect turned life coach and now podcast producer and of course endometriosis advocate, right? I was diagnosed with endometriosis 7 years ago after nearly 20 years of suffering from endometriosis pain and symptoms. When I was diagnosed, I found an answer to the symptoms. I finally knew why I had the horrible pains and all the other symptoms that come with endometriosis, and I finally had an answer to it, but I had no cure. I had no prospect of how my future would turn out to be. Worse, I was overwhelmed with horrible stories of different women who had horrible experiences with doctors and had their life ruined by the illness. The stories I read on Facebook, Instagram, Health Unlocked, and so on all led me to be afraid of any treatment offered and available. And I was also defeated about my future and career. There was no prospect of how I would manage my career and my future life. How can you build a career and a life if you are suffering from these symptoms and the treatments offered make things worse, right? I didn't want to have a surgery that would perforate my intestines or be open for surgery just to be closed again because the doctor did not have the expertise to deal with the illness. These are stories that I read over and over again online, and I did not want that story to be my story. So, afraid of the possibility that the results of treatment would make my life worse and would be like those stories, I said no to any conventional medical treatment. Yes, I said no to surgery, I said no to hormonal treatments, I said no to everything. After all, so many bloggers, stories, and holistic practitioners tell you to never, ever have surgery. But please keep in mind that the odds of these stories to be our story are pretty low. And it depends a lot if you are having a conservative surgery or maybe a complex or radical surgery. And if there are adhesions or internal scar tissue and the stage of the endometriosis you have in your case itself. Statistically, in the UK, there is 63% symptoms improvement at 6 months after laparoscopy and 55% at 12 months. Only 1 in 200 to 250 women have some type of perforation to the bladder or uterus or your gut lining. So there are 199 women that do not have any perforation or complications from the surgery. The negative stories we read are from those who had complications. If you are afraid and don't trust your doctor, you are not making use of your placebo pill, are you? Your positive mindset will help you heal. But unfortunately, these horrible stories the patients went through make our internal Netflix create all types of movies. We sure learn from their shared story, which is why women who had complications share them to help us. But knowing all those negative stories put us into a survival mode that make us be under stress. And stress doesn't help with the symptoms. It's not good for your immune system and healing. It has been proven how the placebo effect helps to heal and how stress compromises our immune system. It is scientifically proven. So it took me 5 long years of managing endometriosis naturally to accept surgery and I just accepted it as a fertility treatment. When I accepted the surgery, I found out that maybe if I had surgery earlier, things could have been better by now. You see, I have stage 4 endometriosis, and things should not be ignored and left untreated if you have an advanced endometriosis. If you have endometriosis patches spreading throughout your body and gluing every organ together. You should not be waiting for forever for a supplement to fix it up, while natural medicine helps. It takes time. It takes time to see results. And natural approaches helped me to manage my symptoms and have a normal life. Natural medicines did help me not being in pain all the time, not dealing with all the long list of symptoms. So I did cut off loads of the symptoms and things got way better. But they need time to work. They need a long time to work, and they may not even work with you. And if you are in a negative mindset, under stress, fear, then they're not going to work as well. Still, after my surgery, I kept reading about all the negative experiences with endometriosis, the horrible stories, the awareness accounts that are loaded with pain and suffering. And I felt that this is great for empowerment and awareness, but it does not make me feel good. It's not the stories I want to read. It's not the story that inspires me to a better future, to thrive things, to know that I can have a pain-free life, that I can have a life I want, even if every now and then I have a symptom or pain or flare-up. This is why I created this podcast, to bring you inspiring stories and information that can give you hope and faith in a better life. Sad stories are great for awareness, and thank you for everyone that shared them and to raise the awareness, but they do not help us heal. Those sad stories are great for who doesn't have endometriosis, to raise awareness in the general population, but they do not help women with endometriosis. We need inspiration. We need to know that some women out there are able to have a great life with endometriosis. That's what we need to know. You don't want to be afraid before a surgery. You don't want to be afraid when you are diagnosed. You don't have to be afraid that you may never get pregnant. You don't have to be afraid of living a life. This podcast is your placebo effect, your placebo pill, the pill that will help you bring the power of your mind for extra healing and a good life. So I then set on a journey and decided to put on a date and work on a list of potential ideas and guests and podcast name. So here I am presenting to you my first podcast episode. And I'm really excited to announce I'll be releasing this podcast once a month, and I'll be talking with other regular people and others that have managed their endometriosis and who, just like me, will be sharing their experiences of living with endometriosis in all aspects of their life. People share their wins and how they overcame the pain, the symptoms, the struggles, the career issues, everything. So our guest will bring those wins to this podcast. This podcast is aimed at improving the way we live, one action at a time, baby steps. And I'll offer free resources on the website, as well as any data that you need that backs up anything that is mentioned here. So just visit befriendendo.com. That is the BEFRIENDENDO.com. Now, if you like the sound of this, please subscribe to this podcast and follow the website befriendendo.com and also at befriendendo on Instagram to let me know of your wins and tips. If you want to be a guest, please send me an email at info@befriendendo.com or DM me on Instagram. Remember, at befriendendo. So I also want to give a shout out to my coach that gave me incentives to do this podcast, Stephen George, and I also want to thank my partner, my husband, and everyone that has accepted to be my guest in this podcast. For now, the names are surprise, but stay in touch on the Instagram account and you'll know who will be coming up next. Thank you, and remember to stay safe, stay positive, and heal yourself.
Everything will be alright.